Have you ever watched your trading account bleed out because you couldn't resist taking that impulsive trade? That moment when you knew you should wait, but something inside pushed you to click the button anyway? What if I told you that tiny gap between your finger and the mouse is where fortunes are made and lost? When it comes to trading, we're often seduced into believing that success comes from complex strategies, advanced indicators, or some secret knowledge that only the elite possess. But what if the real edge, the one thing separating consistent winners from perpetual strugglers, has nothing to do with what you know and everything to do with how you behave when nothing is happening? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Has this ever happened to you? The market is quiet, your setup isn't quite there, but that voice in your head keeps whispering, if you don't get in now, you'll miss it. Your heart rate increases, your palms get sweaty, and before you know it, you've jumped into a trade that wasn't part of your plan. Minutes later, the market reverses, stopping you out, and you're left wondering why you couldn't just wait. What you're about to discover might surprise you. The struggle to wait isn't actually about lack of discipline. It's hardwired into your brain. Every second you sit watching charts without taking action, your mind interprets that stillness as danger. This isn't your fault. Our brains evolved in environments where inaction could mean death, where hesitation could cost us our next meal. But in trading, this ancient wiring works against us. The market constantly flickers and moves, and each tick feels like an opportunity slipping through your fingers. Your subconscious doesn't understand that this movement is mostly noise. It interprets that noise as unfinished business, as a call to action. That's why sitting still feels so unbearable. You're not reacting to price. You're reacting to the emotional pressure of uncertainty. Stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to share will completely transform how you experience the market. The professional trader has learned something profound that the amateur hasn't yet grasped. Patience isn't passive. It's not the absence of action. It's the highest form of action. It's not waiting for something to happen. It's actively choosing not to react until the perfect moment arrives. The traders who make consistent money aren't the ones with the fastest reactions or the most complex systems. They're the ones who have mastered the art of doing nothing when nothing needs to be done. They've trained themselves to find comfort in discomfort, to sit in silence while others scramble, to watch without acting until probability genuinely shifts in their favor. But how do you actually develop this capacity when every fiber of your being is screaming for you to act? If you're serious about mastering trading psychology, hit that subscribe button now. Join thousands of traders who are transforming their approach to the market through patience and emotional control. The real hidden truth behind why waiting feels so unbearable comes down to a fundamental misalignment between how our minds are conditioned and what the market actually rewards. Think about it. From childhood, we're taught that productivity equals progress, that action leads to results, that the early bird gets the worm. Our entire societal framework celebrates the doers, the movers, the people who make things happen. But the market operates on an entirely different wavelength. It doesn't care about your need to feel productive. It doesn't reward activity. It rewards precision. This creates a profound internal conflict, a clash between your lifetime of programming and the reality of what actually works in trading. Your mind interprets stillness as danger because it's been taught that inaction means falling behind, missing out, or losing ground. This misconception transforms into emotional pressure that physically manifests as discomfort when you try to sit still. The journey toward mastering patience involves a complete transformation of how you perceive value and progress. When you're staring at Your screen and nothing is happening. Your brain starts sending alarm signals. Do something, anything, you're wasting time. But what appears as emptiness is actually the canvas where real trading mastery is painted. Those quiet moments aren't voids to be filled. They're opportunities for observation, for the mind to calibrate, for your awareness to sharpen. This is perhaps the most profound mindset shift required for trading success. Understanding that progress often happens in silence. In almost every other domain of life, progress is measured by visible movement and tangible change. But in trading, the most significant growth occurs in those stretches of apparent nothingness, when the market is quiet, when setups are forming but not yet ready. Think of it like a photographer waiting for the perfect shot. The waiting isn't separate from the photography, it is the photography. The decision not to click until conditions are perfect is as much a part of the craft as pressing the shutter. Similarly, a surgeon doesn't rush to make an incision before conditions are optimal. The waiting, the preparation, the restraint, these are all part of the surgery itself. When you begin to see waiting not as a pause between trades, but as an active part of your trading process, something remarkable happens. The discomfort starts to dissolve. You stop perceiving those quiet moments as time wasted and start recognizing them as time invested. Every minute you wait for your perfect setup is a minute you're executing your edge with discipline and precision. This perspective represents one of the most powerful revelations on your path to consistency. The waiting phase isn't what happens before the trade, it is the trade. The decisions you make when nothing is happening often determine your results more than the decisions you make when you're in a position. Those moments of restraint, of saying, "not yet," when your emotions are screaming, "now," are where your edge truly lives. Behind the scenes of every consistent trader's success is this fundamental recognition that patience isn't the absence of action, but the presence of control. It's not passive resignation, it's active awareness. It's the highest expression of trading mastery. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring how successful traders actually train themselves to find comfort in these uncomfortable moments of stillness. If you're nodding your head right now because this resonates with your own trading journey, write "patience is power" in the comments below. Some of the most profound wisdom about trading patience comes from studying masters in completely different disciplines. Consider the world-class surfer floating on the ocean. They might spend hours in the water watching wave after wave roll by, waiting for the perfect one. To an outsider, it might seem like wasted time, all that floating, all that stillness. But to the surfer, this is where the mastery lives. The revelation here is that the surfer isn't just passively waiting. They're actively observing, feeling the rhythm of the ocean, studying the patterns, reading the wind, and preparing their mind and body for the moment when everything aligns. They understand a fundamental truth that applies directly to trading. Riding every ripple exhausts you without taking you anywhere meaningful. The real journey begins when you select the right wave. In the landscape of your charts, every candle, every price, movement is just another ripple. The amateur trader paddles frantically for each one, burning energy, diluting focus, and usually ending up nowhere. The professional sits in stillness, watching those same ripples with a calibrated awareness, waiting for structure, confirmation, and clarity to emerge from the chaos. This mindset transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's a journey of unlearning urgency and discovering the power of discernment. It's about recognizing that what feels like missing out is actually gaining precision. What appears as inaction is actually strategic positioning. But something even more fascinating happens when you commit to this path of patient observation. As you learn to sit through the silence, you begin to experience what I call trading clarity, a mental space where perception sharpens and insights emerge that were previously invisible to you. This is where the hidden dimension of market mastery unfolds. When your mind isn't constantly reacting, it begins to see patterns at a deeper level. You notice the subtle rhythm of price movement, the almost imperceptible transitions between expansion and contraction phases, even the emotional tone of the market itself. These nuances were always there, but they were drowned out by the noise of your own reactions. The profound impact of this clarity isn't that it helps you predict the next move. No one can consistently do that. Rather, it gives you the confidence to recognize opportunity when it appears. It's like developing a sixth sense for alignment. You're no longer trying to force the market to give you what you want. You're patiently waiting to recognize what it's offering. Behind the scenes of every consistent trader is this quality of heightened perception that comes from stillness. They're not watching more indicators or analyzing more data. They're simply seeing more in the same information because their minds have been trained to observe without the distortion of emotion. Think about your own experience for a moment. How many times have you looked back at a chart after the fact and seen a setup that was crystal clear in hindsight, but completely invisible to you in real time? That wasn't because you lacked knowledge. It was because your perception was clouded by emotional noise, the anxiety of missing out, the pressure to act, the fear of being wrong. Let me show you how top traders develop this mental clarity and train themselves to find comfort in stillness, turning what most experience as unbearable tension into their greatest competitive advantage. If you've ever experienced that moment of clarity after stepping away from the charts, only to wonder, how did I not see this before? Type "clear mind, clear charts" in the comments. Here's where most traders experience a profound revelation. Waiting isn't passive at all. It's actually the most active form of execution. Every moment you choose not to take a trade that doesn't meet your criteria, you're not doing nothing. You're actively implementing your strategy. This mental reframe is revolutionary because it transforms what feels like restraint into what it truly is, the highest expression of trading discipline. Subscribe to continue your journey into the psychology of consistent trading. Every video takes you one step closer to developing the quiet confidence that separates professionals from the crowd. Think about the internal battle that happens when you're watching a chart. Part of you wants to act, to feel the rush of being in the market, to chase the illusion of control. When you consciously choose to override that impulse and stay true to your plan, you're not just avoiding a bad trade, you're executing a positive decision. You're shifting from trying to manage market outcomes, which is impossible, to managing yourself, which is the only thing you can control. This insight represents a watershed moment in a trader's journey. It's when you realize that consistency doesn't come from how you handle trades. It comes from how you handle yourself when not trading. But this transformation doesn't happen overnight. It requires deliberately rewiring your relationship with stillness, training your mind to interpret silence not as emptiness, but as strategic positioning. Behind every consistent trader's calm exterior is a carefully cultivated ability to sit through discomfort without reacting to it. They've trained themselves to recognize that the urge to act is often just emotional static, a phantom signal created by psychology, not probability. But there's another dimension to patience that goes even deeper than discipline: trust. This is perhaps the most overlooked secret of trading psychology. The foundation of patience isn't willpower, it's trust. Trust in your process, trust in probability, and most importantly, trust in yourself. When you truly believe your edge will appear again, waiting no longer feels like loss. Without that belief, every second of stillness creates emotional pressure that eventually forces premature action. The fear of missing out isn't really about the current price movement. It's about a scarcity mindset that says, if I don't catch this opportunity, I might never get another one. The revelation that unlocks true patience is realizing that the market is infinite. Opportunities never end, they simply move through time. The same patterns, the same structures, the same probabilities appear again and again, like waves returning to the shore. When you deeply internalize this abundance perspective, you're free to wait because you know with absolute certainty that another setup is coming. This is why some traders can sit for days without taking a position while others can barely go an hour. It's not that the patient trader has more discipline, they have more trust. Their confidence doesn't come from being right about the next move. It comes from knowing they'll recognize the right opportunity when it appears, no matter when that happens. Let me show you exactly how to build this kind of unshakable trust, the kind that transforms waiting from a test of willpower into your default state of mind. If you've ever felt that inner battle between wanting to trade and knowing you should wait, type "building trust" in the comments. One of the most powerful mindset transformations in trading comes from understanding what I call the casino principle. Think about how a casino operates. The house doesn't worry about losing on any individual hand of blackjack or spin of the roulette wheel. They don't rush players to place bets faster when they're having a losing streak. They don't suddenly change the rules mid-game to try to recoup losses. Why? Because they understand something fundamental. Their edge is mathematical, not emotional. The casino has absolute confidence in probability. They know with mathematical certainty that over hundreds or thousands of hands, their small edge will inevitably generate profit. This knowledge creates a remarkable state of calm, a patient certainty that transcends any individual outcome. Their process is their profit. The revelation here is that successful traders approach the market with precisely this mindset. They don't view their trading edge as something that needs to be right on the next trade. Instead, they see it as a probability advantage that manifests across a series of trades. This shift in perspective changes everything. It transforms how you experience both winning and losing. When you truly embody the casino mindset, a single losing trade has no emotional impact because you understand it's just one data point in a much larger distribution. You stop seeing losses as failures and start seeing them as the mathematical cost of implementing your edge. This perspective doesn't just make you more patient, it makes you emotionally bulletproof. But here's where the journey gets even more fascinating. The challenge isn't just intellectual, it's biochemical. Every time the market moves, your brain interprets that movement as potential gain or loss, triggering a cascade of neurochemical responses. Adrenaline spikes when a trade goes against you. Dopamine floods your system when price moves in your favor. Cortisol levels rise when uncertainty increases. These chemical reactions create physical sensations that demand resolution. Your palms sweat, your heart rate increases, your muscles tense, all pushing you toward action, any action, to relieve the tension. This is why patience can't be achieved through willpower alone. You're literally fighting your own biochemistry. The breakthrough comes when you realize that mastering patience isn't about suppressing these reactions, it's about developing a new relationship with them. The consistent trader doesn't feel less, they feel differently. They've trained themselves to experience market movements with what I call emotional neutrality, a state of aware detachment where you can observe your physiological responses without being controlled by them. This is the hidden dimension of trading mastery that's rarely discussed. It's not about becoming emotionally flat or numb to the market. It's about developing the capacity to feel everything while remaining unaffected by it, to notice the impulse to act without becoming that impulse. That distinction transforms trading from an emotional roller coaster into a state of flow where decisions emerge from Clarity rather than reaction. The question becomes, how do you actually train yourself to achieve this state of emotional neutrality when every instinct is pushing you to react? Let me show you the exact practice that rewires your nervous system to stay balanced even when the market is chaotic. If you've ever noticed how your body physically reacts to market movements, heart racing, palms sweating, stomach tightening, type mind over biology in the comments. Here's where most traders experience a critical breakthrough on their journey. Patience isn't something you sustain through willpower alone. It requires architectural support. Think of it like building a cathedral of calm in a world of chaos. The foundation isn't motivation or discipline, it's structure. This revelation changes everything. When emotion gets triggered in trading, it will always feel stronger than logic. That's not weakness, it's biology. The limbic system processes emotional responses faster than your prefrontal cortex can analyze them. This is why even experienced traders make impulsive decisions despite knowing better. You can't outthink a chemical reaction. This is where the hidden truth emerges. Your trading process must be stronger than your personality. The most consistent traders don't rely on mental fortitude to maintain patience. They design environments and systems that make patience automatic. They create decision frameworks that remove the burden of in-the-moment discipline. It's like the difference between trying to resist a chocolate cake sitting right in front of you versus not having chocolate in the house at all. One relies on willpower, the other on environmental design. This architectural approach to patience transforms the entire trading experience. Instead of constantly battling yourself, you're simply following a blueprint that you designed in advance. Your checklist doesn't just tell you when to enter, it explicitly defines when you must not trade. Your process doesn't just outline what to do. It establishes what waiting actually looks like. This is how you outsource discipline to structure. I worked with a trader who struggled with overtrading for years. The transformation came when he stopped trying to be more disciplined and instead created what he called quiet hours, scheduled blocks where he was only allowed to observe the market, not act. At first, it felt like torture, but after a few weeks, something remarkable happened. His perception sharpened. He began noticing patterns he'd missed before. The silence became his teacher, but structure alone isn't enough for complete transformation. To fully embody patience, your brain needs evidence, proof that waiting actually works better than reacting. This is where the psychological reinforcement comes in. Every time you resist a low-quality trade and watch it fail without you, you're creating neural pathways that associate patience with reward. Every time you wait for your perfect setup and it delivers, you strengthen those pathways. This is why I have traders keep what I call a restraint journal, tracking not just the trades they took, but the ones they avoided. They note the emotional trigger, how strong it felt, and what happened after they didn't act. After a few weeks, they can literally see in black and white how many bullets they dodged simply by waiting. That evidence begins rewiring their brain's reward system. The profound impact of this practice is that eventually your mind starts craving patience the way it once craved action. The neural pathways become so established that waiting actually feels more comfortable than acting impulsively. You experience a strange satisfaction when you sit through noise and see the market confirm your restraint was correct. That's when patience stops being a struggle and becomes instinct. Let's explore how this transformation in your relationship with time creates a completely different trading experience. One where waiting becomes your competitive advantage rather than your emotional challenge. If you've noticed that your best trading days are often when you've made fewer trades, type quality over quantity in the comments. The most profound transformation on this journey happens when patience stops being something you consciously practice and becomes something you simply are. This identity shift represents the ultimate evolution of a trader's psychology. It's the moment when trading from alignment feels more natural than trading from impulse, when the very idea of acting without your criteria being met feels foreign, almost absurd. Think about how this transformation manifests. You're sitting at your screen, watching the market move. A potential setup begins to form, but it's missing a key confirmation. The old you would have felt that familiar tension, the pull to act early, to catch the move before it happens. But now, that pressure simply isn't there. Not because you're suppressing it, but because it no longer exists within you. The identity shift has changed your default state. This evolution isn't about becoming more disciplined, it's about becoming different. When patience becomes who you are rather than what you do, you experience a kind of quiet confidence that can't be shaken by market noise. You understand at the deepest level that time and opportunity are infinite. The market isn't a series of fleeting chances you might miss. It's an endless flow of probability that will always present your edge again. With this identity in place, you stop seeing yourself as someone who chases the market and start seeing yourself as someone who interacts with it, a participant rather than a pursuer. This subtle shift changes everything about how you experience trading. The need to be constantly doing something disappears because your sense of value is no longer tied to activity, but to alignment. What follows is perhaps the most liberating aspect of this journey. When patience becomes your identity, the market stops being your teacher through pain and starts being your partner in awareness. Think about how different this feels. Before, every loss felt personal, a failure, a mistake, a reflection of your inadequacy. Now, those same losses are just data points, neutral feedback about probability and process. Similarly, wins stop being validation and become confirmation. You're no longer trading to prove something to yourself or others. You're simply expressing your edge through action, and the results, whether positive or negative, are just reflections of probability playing out over time. This creates a remarkable stillness in the mind, not because there's nothing to think about, but because there's nothing left to fear. Trading from this place of flow, rather than friction, transforms the entire experience. The market can be volatile, news can break, price can spike or collapse, and you remain centered, unshaken. Not because you're suppressing emotion, but because your relationship with uncertainty has fundamentally changed. You've stopped fighting the market's nature and started flowing with it. This is when trading becomes simple, not easy, but simple. The complexity that once clouded your decision-making dissolves because you're no longer conflicted. Your mind, your process, and your actions are all in alignment. There's no internal argument between what you know you should do and what you feel compelled to do. That harmony creates a kind of effortlessness that's impossible to achieve through discipline alone. Let me show you how this identity shift manifests in specific trading scenarios and how it completely transforms your relationship with risk, uncertainty, and the passage of time. If you've ever experienced even a brief moment where waiting felt completely natural and effortless, type identity shift in the comments. The most extraordinary milestone in this journey happens when you experience what I call the stillness revelation. This is when the quiet spaces between trades transform from something you endure into something you draw strength from. Most traders never reach this level because they can't bear the discomfort long enough to discover what lies on the other side of it. When you can sit in front of the market feeling nothing but presence, not boredom, not urgency, not hope, not fear, just pure awareness, you've crossed a threshold that few traders ever reach. This stillness isn't the absence of action. It's the very source of right action. It's not emptiness, it's potential in its purest form. What's fascinating about this transformation is how it changes your entire decision-making process. When your mind is truly still, decisions don't come from analysis alone. They emerge from intuition, informed by experience. You start to notice that your best trades don't come from struggling to figure things out. They arise naturally when your internal noise subsides enough for clarity to surface. It's like the difference between forcing a lock and finding the key. Before, you were trying to make things happen through sheer effort and will. Now, you simply recognize when alignment appears. You're no longer chasing trades. They unfold naturally before you, and you act when they align with your structure. This shift feels almost mystical, but it's actually the most practical thing in the world. It's your perception unclouded by emotion. But the journey doesn't end there. The ultimate transformation, what I consider the master key to trading psychology, is when you finally stop needing to win. Notice, I didn't say you stop wanting to win or caring about results. What changes is your emotional dependency on outcomes. This is liberation in its purest form. When you truly internalize that winning trades don't make you a winner and losing trades don't make you a loser, that they're simply data points in a continuous flow of probability, something profound happens. Fear dissolves into acceptance. The emotional weight that once made trading so exhausting simply evaporates. Think about how this manifests in your trading. Before this transformation, each loss felt personal, a reflection of your competence, intelligence, or worth. Each win was validation that you were on the right track. Your emotional state swung between these poles like a pendulum, never finding balance. But when you stop needing specific outcomes to feel okay, you experience a kind of freedom that can't be shaken. This mindset shift doesn't mean you become indifferent. Paradoxically, you become more engaged, more precise, and often more profitable. Why? Because your decisions are no longer contaminated by the need for emotional resolution. You're not trading to feel better. You're trading to express your edge. That purity of purpose translates into cleaner execution and better overall results. What's most profound about this level of trading psychology is that you're no longer trying to control the market, a battle you could never win anyway. Instead, you've mastered the one thing you can control, your relationship with uncertainty. You've learned to dance with randomness rather than fight it. Let me show you how these transformations manifest in the practical day-to-day reality of trading and how they permanently change not just your results, but your entire experience of the market. If you've ever noticed that your calmest, most detached trading days are often your most profitable type, freedom from outcomes in the comments. As we wrap up this exploration of trading patience, I hope you've come to see that the journey to mastery isn't about finding a better indicator or a more complex strategy. It's about developing a relationship with uncertainty that no market movement can shake. The quiet confidence that comes from knowing you don't need to chase what will inevitably come to you. That's the trader's ultimate edge. I've spent years studying the psychology of successful traders, and the pattern is always the same. The ones who last aren't just lucky or intelligent. They've developed this rare capacity to find comfort in the spaces where most feel unbearable tension. They've learned that stillness isn't absence, it's presence in its purest form. If this message resonated with you today, if you found yourself nodding or perhaps even recognizing yourself in some of these patterns, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Just type, "Patience is my edge," so I know this reached the right person. This channel is dedicated to uncovering these hidden dimensions of trading psychology, the insights that transform not just your results, but your entire experience of the market. If you haven't joined our community yet, click subscribe now. You'll be notified when we release new insights that continue this journey toward trading mastery. And if you found value in today's message, a simple like helps others discover this content too. It's a small action that creates ripples of transformation for traders who might be struggling with the very challenges we discussed today. Right here is a video where I dive into the practical techniques for building unshakable trading confidence, the perfect next step after mastering patience. Click and join me there as we continue uncovering the psychology of consistent trading success.